But that hill, man, that hill was a bad idea. So if you can imagine it, it's probably a hill at like legit just a 45-degree angle, like a straight up slope. Like you couldn't walk down it without looking weird. You know what I mean? It was super steep because it had to go from like the top of the school to the bottom. Like the school was built on a hill for some fucking reason, and so every day, you walk up and down it. And so, as a kid, at least I know I did, you fucking fantasize about, am I gonna be the kid to like eat shit and die, basically? Because it's treacherous, you know what I mean? And if you fall, you're not getting back up until you're at the bottom of the hill. So I'm being super careful. And one day during it wasn't during 6 to 6 because they would never allow this. It was during like, oh yeah, it was during 6 to 6. It was during like, sometimes in 6 to 6, we had like this free time kind of thing where the teachers would be supervising, like one teacher per like 10 students probably, and they just be like, okay, go ahead and basically just have recess for an hour. And some days we would like do some really crazy shit, and like apparently they never cared or they couldn't see us or something. But one day we found rolly chairs, like a little office chairs that someone had left outside. They were probably like about to fall apart, which makes this story even worse. And so if you're a kid and you find rolly chairs and there's a goddamn giant hill at your school, what the hell are you gonna do, right? You're gonna ride down that motherfucker like your life depended on it. And so we did that. The worst part, I think, was that the chairs didn't have backs to them. They were like bar stools, basically. Like they didn't have a back. And so if you wanted to sit down on them, you didn't have a backrest. And so you would have to... What is happening? And so when we were riding down the hill, you couldn't like lean back or lean forward. It was all basically just you... Instead of like to balance ourselves better, the way we did it was we laid on our stomachs and like looked at the ground, basically. Like, I hope you guys can picture this. I might like try to put up a graphic of this. But we lay on our stomachs and then jump or roll down to like, because that was a good idea, right? No one died, no one got hurt. I mean, people like fucking ate shit, but they didn't like get seriously hurt. Maybe like a scratched knee or something, but nothing too intense. I have no idea what miracles were performed to keep us not dead, because we should have died every time somebody went down that hill, because it was fucking treacherous, dude. But yeah, that was real fucking dumb. One of the dumbest things I've ever done. So this is probably the last elementary school story, because not much happened. At least like plenty of things happened. I just don't really remember them because it was so long ago. And so this story, it's a short one, and it's really the only time I think I've ever been like a bad person. No, that's not true. I've been a bad person before. I mean, after this. But it was like, I mean, I was a dumb kid, right? Like, we're all dumb kids, and I was fucking mean. Not to everybody, or not just anybody. You would have to earn my hate, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't. I hated for a reason. And there was this kid. His name was Ali. I remember him, and he was the most annoying fucking kid I've ever met. Like, fucking the most buck fucking teethed person I've ever met. He had like a weird lisp. He was like he had like a very awkward body type, to where he was basically like, his arms were like as long as his legs, basically. So just like a super awkward dude. And he was always in my shit. Like, he was always in my fucking business, no matter what it was. Like, I don't know why. Maybe he wanted to be my friend. Maybe he liked me. I don't fucking know. But dude was super awkward, and he knew I didn't like him because like he was just so fucking annoying. And so, come like one of the last days of school, every day we would have to walk up that hill as a class. Like they wouldn't just like tell kids, "All right, get the fuck out of here." They would walk you up to lunch because lunch was up the hill. And so, as we're walking up the hill, there was this fucking lunch lady who'd be like, "Walk in just one line. It's just one line." That's all she would fucking say. It was super annoying. But, oh, fuck. But anyway, one day we're walking up, and at the bottom of the hill, there's like a weird speed bump. Because, I guess looking in hindsight, it was for cars, so they could get to the lower level. And so there was a speed bump at the bottom to make sure parent or teachers weren't like hauling ass or whatever. And so we're walking around this, or we're walking over the speed bump, and Ali's right behind me, like fucking yapping his mouth about some shit. I don't even remember. And I remember just thinking, like, we're at the back of the line, and I'm just thinking, like, I could punch the shit out of him. And like, no one thought I was a bad kid, and so I could just deny it and totally get away with it. Like, that's what my little kid mind was thinking. And so, instead of just, like, fucking punched him in the face, I pushed him. I didn't push him. I, like, just bumped into him really hard with my shoulder. And I don't know what caused this. If it was just him being fucking super doofy and awkward and not knowing how to stand. But he eats shit. He immediately just fucking falls to the ground. And since we're walking over the speed bump, the ground is like it's you know, it's a bump. It's not level. And so he falls, puts his hands out over the bump. Like it's hard to imagine, but imagine him trying to like hug the speed bump basically. And so his fucking mouth just slams into the ground. His giant fucking buck ass teeth go slamming into the earth. And at the time, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that had happened. I just thought he fell. And so I'm over here, like, laughing at him. And then he gets up, and he was wearing a white shirt. And his fucking whole, like, ring of his neck, like, his neckline, is just red. Or I guess it's pink because it like, diluted. And so he's like, bleeding. And I'm like, what the fuck? Did he, like, did he scratch his face or something? Like, what happened? And I eventually realized that, like, he's holding his mouth, and then he takes his hand off of his mouth, and he has a fucking tooth in his hand. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, I did that. And I immediately, I start feeling bad. Not because I, like, regret doing it, but I don't want to get in trouble, you know what I mean? Like, if, like, I could get in trouble for pushing him, what do you think, like, knocking his fucking tooth out would do? And so I'm over here shitting my pants thinking I'm going to get expelled or something. And I immediately start doing that thing that, like, every kid does when they know they're in trouble. I start playing the innocent card. I'm like, oh, are you okay? Like, what happened? Pretending like I didn't fucking cause his pain. And so, fuck me. And then he's, like, fucking holding his tooth in his hand, like, I saw my tooth, or whatever the fuck he says. And I'm like, oh shit, dude, like, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. Teachers come running over because they hear me yelling about his fucking tooth. And then, oh, that's not where I want to be. And then I got away with it. Like, he didn't tell on me. I guess he didn't realize I had pushed him. He thought he tripped or something because he was fucking doofy, never had his shoes tied. And so I basically got away with murder that day. So that was interesting. And so I think that concludes the elementary school days of my... Okay, sounds like fun. My elementary days of school, at least in terms of, like, story-wise. There might be a few that I might come back to. That might be for another episode. I don't know how I'm going to break these up. If I'm going to break up each thing, or maybe just keep it one long part. I don't fucking know. We'll see. We will see.